I want to talk about my friend here. Who is this guy? You'd be excused if, on a cursory look, you thought he was a human being. After all, he is a lot like us. He's got a big, beautiful brain, and he's got a flat face that doesn't protrude from the rest of the skull. For comparison, take a look at this chimpanzee's skull, where you see that along with other features of the skull, he's got a much smaller brain and a face that protrudes, called a prognathic face. So this guy is clearly a close relation, but is he a member of the immediate family? How would he fit in on Thanksgiving? Well, given a lot of families, that's setting the bar pretty low, but you know what I mean. Look also at the differences. He doesn't have the high globular brain and skull case of the Homo sapien. His head is flat, oriented mostly from front to back rather than up like ours. And the widest portion of his skull is very low down here compared to the human skull, where the widest portion is much higher on the skull. He also has a very prominent supraorbital torus, or brow ridge. But his teeth, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but his teeth are very similar to ours, both in layout and in size. To show you the real drama of his skull, I should have an earlier skull from an Australopithecus, but these are expensive. Well, not this one, because this one was a gift from someone who knows me very well and knows exactly the kind of gift that I would appreciate. But how much would you pay for a nice replica Australopithecus skull? Right, not enough to be able to purchase the entire set. So I just have this one. Anyway, just to orient us. Here's the very rough and basic schema for hominid ancestry. You've got the Hominidae family, from which orangutans split off about 12 million years ago, gorillas 8 million years ago, chimps 6 to 7 million years ago. Then there's sort of an area where things are a lot less clear until the advent of the various Australopithecus groups, starting about 4 million years ago to 2 million years ago. And then finally the beginnings of the Homo line, the hominins, our line, 2 million years ago, with various members including Homo ergaster, habilis, erectus, Neanderthals, Denisovans, and Homo sapiens. So now have a look at the teeth of Australopithecus afarensis, commonly known as Lucy. Her species lived about 3 to 4 million years ago. She has much larger teeth, massive molars, and this skull of afarensis has a jutting face, large teeth, and a much smaller brain, about 400 cubic centimeters in volume. And the teeth come with a massive muscular chewing apparatus, which supported a diet of less calorically dense materials, leaves, bark, tubers, roots. But our friend here has teeth that are very much like ours, indicating a more varied diet with the ability to extract more nutritionally dense foods. Look at the cow. Grass has a lot less nutrition than fruits, nuts, and meat, so you have to spend all day chewing. And the metabolically demanding larger brain consumes perhaps 25% of all the calories that one ingests. Something else I want to point out. Here is a picture of the most complete Homo erectus skeleton ever found, that of Turkana also known as Nariokotoma boy, 1.6 million years old, found in Kenya. What you see is that the basic body plan is established. It would take an expert anatomist to discern some of the fine differences in the skeleton. The main differences between Homo erectus and us lie in the skull. And a big part of this is the brain size and the brain shape, and this low sloping forehead that contains a brain of a slightly different shape. Early erectus had a brain volume of approximately 850 cubic centimeters, and the later erectus maybe 1150 centimeters compared to Homo sapiens with a 1300 cubic centimeter cranial capacity. So he's been around for 2 million years. How can I tell his story in 5 minutes? I do him a disservice to even try. But the early versions stayed the basic model for a very long time, well more than 1 million years. And its geographical range is wider than any other human ancestor other than ourselves. He's the first hominin to have left Africa, maybe 1.8 million years ago, and he can be found in Africa, Europe, Asia, and even in Indonesia. Erectus is a diverse population that lived for so long and in so many places that regional variations developed. His exact relation to our ancestry is not clear. Did we evolve directly from him? Did we interbreed with him? Did he give rise to another human ancestor from which we did directly descend? It's not yet clear, and maybe we'll know more when we get a hold of some ancient Erectus DNA, which is not unlikely to happen happen in the coming years. Let me just mention two other things in passing. Homo erectus looks to be the first hominin to use fire. He appeared to cook meat. Many animal bones are found in association with Homo erectus sites, with evidence of cut marks and butchery. He used a tool very much like this, or this, he may have actually used this very tool. This is a 350,000 years old, beautiful Acheulean hand axe, kind of a Paleolithic multi-tool that Homo erectus fashioned and used. But about the fire. Did he master fire? Was he able to produce fire? Could he control fire? Or did he use fire that was naturally occurring, like from fires that started after lightning strikes? It's not clear. And then there's the question of language. His potentially used language is debated as well. His spinal cord size looks to be too small to have been able to support the kind of fine motor control over breathing that appears to be necessary for human-like speech. But some feel that brain structures, as evidenced by skeletal features and endocasts, indicate more potential for some kind of proto-speech than his forebears had. I don't want to offend anyone who's not a fan of the arc of the Microsoft Windows platform, and I'm not advocating it, but I think of Homo erectus as kind of the Windows XP of hominins. It's a stable platform lasting many years, maybe not as technically sophisticated as the Windows 10 platform, but how long is the Windows 10 platform going to be around? Certainly not more than the million years plus of the Windows XP Homo erectus platform. What is most intriguing to me about Homo erectus? Well, it's the question of what makes us human. Chimpanzees and gorillas are a lot like us. They're more like us than, say, cows and walruses, but they're clearly not enough like us that we think of them as human. Were these guys early examples of us with less technical skills and technical equipment, or were they fundamentally different? Is there some kind of cognitive divide and some level of brain function and behavioral adaptivity and language facility so that if you're on one side, our side, you're human, and if you're on the other side of the divide, you're more like an ape? Or is it all along a spectrum? If we can meet an erectus, would we think these guys are more like us than chimps, but not quite human? Or would we say, these guys are not quite us, but they're along the lines of us? And what about that fundamental quality of human beings, consciousness? Were they conscious in a human sense? Or were they conscious in whatever way apes are conscious? Has human consciousness been around for only a few tens of thousands of years? The kind of consciousness and capacity for abstract, representational reasoning so transcendentally depicted in cave paintings on deep inner cave walls? Or were Homo erectus people a million years ago sitting around a campfire in the blackness all around, watching the flickering flames, not quite us, but like us, pondering the vast darkness of night everywhere around them, with some dawning recognition that they were transforming the place and the experience into which they were born? Be sure to subscribe, and thanks a lot for watching.